Hello again, my Patreon scumbag friends, and welcome to another episode of the Jedi Archives. I say another, it's episode 2. We can still be, excited that it's a new show. Episode 2 of the Jedi Archives, the show where I go through all the Star Wars books I own in chronological order, review them, and then at the very end of it all, rank them. So here we are going up against our very first adult novel. This adult novel. Star Wars Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. So let's take a look together at the inaugural High Republic story. The intro to the High Republic had a lot of pressure riding on it. This whole publishing initiative was a new, unknown quantity, and if the first book out of the gate wasn't strong enough, it would have really taken the wind out of this whole project's sails. So, was the first book out of the gate strong enough? I think, for the most part, yeah. So a ship has an accident in hyperspace, and pieces of it come flying out of hyperspace on deadly collision courses with populated planets. This becomes known as the Great Disaster, and it arrives just as Republic Chancellor Lina Soh is about to press her hopeful initiative to create a more connected galaxy. Now the Jedi have to scramble to deal with these emergences, as they're called, while at the same time fending off attacks from the Nihil, who are ruthless space Vikings who hopscotch their way through hyperspace, pillaging and plundering as they go. The opening is very suspenseful and well written, and Charles Soule does a good job of introducing all of these new characters. The High Republic asks us to start caring about and keeping track of dozens of people who are not named Skywalker or Quadaneros, so the creators were kind enough to provide the public with full-color illustrations of all the key players, and boy do these ever help! Without them, I think this novel would have been a whole lot less accessible. And I know, most novels don't rely on any visual aids. Everything happens in your imagination, I get it, but this is Star Wars. Star Wars oozes with visuals and sounds. That's what makes it Star Wars. So I think the illustrations that we got kept this from coming across as just a competently written but forgettable book that has lightsabers in it. See, Light of the Jedi ain't without its flaws. It's evident that Charles Soule is a comic book writer first and a novelist second. There's one very painful moment where one of the Nihil characters gives a detailed description of the Nihil hierarchy system to another Nihil. He ends the explanation with the words, "You know this." In Writing 101, that's called a D-, kids. And it's kind of tough to explain here, but the book's structure comes across a little shaky. The disaster creates emergencies, and the Jedi spend most of the book dealing with the emergencies, and then there's a space battle all of a sudden, and then the book really just ends. I'm all for being creative and breaking the traditional 3-act structure, but this doesn't feel like that kind of choice. I don't know. You'll see this become a pattern as we talk about more and more Star Wars novels, but I have a sneaky feeling that there's something happening behind the scenes at Lucasfilm Publishing, and, we'll get there when we get there. But if asked if I enjoyed this book, I would still definitely say yes. There are some great Star Wars moments here. Loden Greatstorm performs a mind trick from the cockpit of one ship to another. There's mention made of ancient Sith light spears that got me all kinds of excited. Marchion Ro is set up excellently as a new imposing villain, and best of all, the Jedi are beautifully described as each visualizing the Force in their own unique way. Avar Kriss, for example, sees it as music. Bel Zettifar sees it as a flame. God, is that ever awesome! And Light of the Jedi gets something right that a lot of Star Wars novels fail to understand, which is that Star Wars stories should be about the most important thing happening in the galaxy right now. We as Star Wars fans are invested in this galaxy and its history, so we want, nay, we crave to know about things like this great hyperspace disaster. Things that Leia would have studied in her history books on Alderaan. A lot of canon books do not do this. And we end up with 350 pages of people just talking about holocubes or some shit. And we just ask ourselves, why was this story written? Light of the Jedi never has that problem. It sets the stage for an important part of the Star Wars timeline and is a very good first step on the High Republic road. And there you have it, my friends. That was my thoughts on Light of the Jedi, reading it through a second time. I do feel like I liked it exactly the same amount as I liked it the first time, which is strange. Usually, you would expect one or the other, but no. But that was episode 2 of the Jedi Archives. Let us know what you thought of Light of the Jedi if you've read it yourself. And as always, if you enjoy books and you enjoy me and you enjoy fantasy, because you do like Star Wars, that's why you're here, then how about all 3 combined in my fantasy novel, We Were Wizards? That's my name, because I wrote this, and you can get this on Amazon right now. And the next book in the series is also on Amazon right now. Check them out. They are a ton of fun. They are my pride and joy, my life's work. We Were Wizards on Amazon in 3 different formats. Thanks again, Patreon scumbags, for joining us here and talking about books today. I will see you all on the next edition of the Jedi Archives. Until that day comes, may the force of others be with you.